Good morning, PK. Good to have you.
Hey, good, Johnny.
You have travelled to 150 countries, 2,000 plus of the best hotels on earth, and finally, you've built perfection. Is that right?
Yeah, well, as close to perfection as we can get. It's a work in progress, but for sure, yeah.
So we're here in Madagascar right now, in what is, an incredibly remote place. And your vision of what barefoot luxury is. Tell us more about your concept of what makes the perfect hotel.
I think for me, I think that a lot of the big brands are fighting about being number one. They are not focusing as much on what the consumer wants. So it's all about more luxurious, more butlers, more this, etc. Whereas what we've thought that luxury is really about is to take the fuss out of luxury. Focus on authenticity, focus on things that are real, and focusing on what people come to a hotel for. They want an incredible place, an incredible destination, a beautiful sleep in the best beds, the best linens, great food, great service. So for us, hospitality is about three pillars. Food in the center of everything. It's very important, the second heart or the first for some. And then you have service, which is, of course, needs to be authentic. It shouldn't be molded into something that's not authentic. And then design. Design should be something that is very tough with design because design can be very personal. So, but if you're looking at what we have focused on is sort of this wabi-sabi meets African aesthetic, a little bit more the cappuccino style colors that doesn't really bother anyone, but everyone sort of tends to like it. And I think that for us it's these soft elements, a lot of the natural feel, like the driftwood behind us.
I love this.
Things like this. These are things that we've found on the beaches around us. And when we created Voaara, Voaara means sacred nature. And as you see around us here, it's truly about sacred nature. Like everything is about preserving the nature for future destinations. So each destination of the Voaara hotels that we're building is about finding places where we can make a difference with nature, where we can preserve nature for future generations. Yeah. Like here, you can walk the beaches for an hour in each direction without seeing a single building. That would be pretty cool if your grandchildren can walk here and it remained like that. So
this is the challenge, right? It's finding these beautiful destinations that people really want to travel to now. So much is now built up. It's not the same way it used to be. Look, there's such a mix of what people are passionate about. But I think this trend is very much going towards this concept of barefoot luxury, and the way the industry wants to go is people want to escape from their realities often. What to you is the things that make the best hotels in the world? What does that really look
for
like?
me, I think it's attention to detail. Number one, focusing on all the small little things that makes a difference. It's very easy to do a beautiful hotel, but it's those little details that people remember. It could be a welcome note. It could be something personalized. It could be something that you didn't expect. And all these little attention to details is like, oh wow, look at what they did here, and that sort of thing. For me, it's all about the attention to detail, and if you focus on that, then people get surprised again and again and again. That element of surprise is really, I think, special.
Absolutely. But tell us more about this story. How did we get here to you having your own hotel when you've obviously been a travel agent for many years and built travel brands and sold out of those businesses? But tell us more about that journey of what led you to what is now, of course, fulfilling a dream, I guess.
Yeah, well, funny enough, so to take it back 45 years, I used to come to Madagascar, to this particular island for vacation, because we used to live in Madagascar. My parents were building a hydroelectric power plant that they were part of on the mainland of Madagascar that provides most of the electricity still today. But Sainte Marie Island, which we're on, is a 55 kilometer long island off the northeast coast of Madagascar, very remote, but it's fairly easy to get to in the same way. You can fly into the capital, and then from there you have a small little hopper plane out to this island. But I always had, as I grew up, I felt that Madagascar has something very unique. So then, long story short, I started in fashion, then I grew into travel, and I started a couple of travel brands like Kiwi Collection, which was, it still is an existing business. I started Visa Luxury Hotel Collections for Visa's premium card holders. And then I sold out of those businesses, and I started PK's List, which is a bespoke travel advisory service and also an app that's sort of been compared to the Michelin guide for hotels, basically. And then as a result of all my travels, and as you said initially, I've been to 151 countries. I've stayed in over 2,000 of the best hotels in the world, all sizes, and I've visited well over 3,000 hotels. And you learn a few things on the way, right? It's quite remarkable now that I've done my own first hotel to see all of the little things that I actually knew that I didn't realize that I knew, but I've picked up a few things along the way. So that journey made it possible. I also did, as you know, a trip around the world where I traveled nonstop for almost 3 years and visited, I think it was like 80 countries or something like that. My wife, when I met her 20 years ago, she had been to 5 countries. She's now been to 90. So, that's been a journey. And what's really cool with that is that during those travels, I felt that there was something lacking. As I mentioned initially, brands are focusing on something different, but there's no brand in barefoot luxury. If you look at Six Senses, which used to be barefoot luxury, now they are owned by Intercontinental, they're in city locations, they're something very different. Look at Amman has now gone from being this Amman junkie, sort of cool places, etc., with a lot of soul. They've now gone ultra luxury. You look at places like Alila was sold to Hyatt, and it's not really, the same as it used to be. Habitas now is in Saudi Arabia with, like beautiful resorts, etc. So I think that there's very few properties that have the potential of being a brand. And what I did was that I started Voaara before starting the hotel, with the idea of launching it into different locations around the world where you can stay true to the sense of barefoot luxury.
Yeah. So what do you see as the next travel trends? Where is the consumer going? What are they wanting? How do you see that?
So it feels like there has been a big paradigm shift in how people travel. A lot of people are looking more for experiential travel. They want to do more things. They are doing bigger trips. They are not afraid of flying further away, but they're also bringing their families and friends together. So it's a little bit where you can see that people are booking multiple rooms. They're doing, multi-generational families, but it's also bigger trips. Like we see here at Voaara in Madagascar, people are coming and staying 10 days, 12 days, 14 days. The longest booking we've had so far is 3 weeks, and we've only been open a year and a half. And people are, coming and staying put, but they want to explore. And when you come to Madagascar, obviously you have so many things that you can explore. So I see that people are now wanting more authenticity. They want something that feels real, where people can make a difference, where they see that, wow, I didn't know this about this country. We can see that a lot of guests also want to help with what can we do to help the local communities and that sort of thing. And I think that people are becoming more aware and conscious and looking for that authenticity and experiential travel.
Yeah. And so you've highlighted brands that haven't quite, that have evolved in different ways. I mean, right now, what are your top 3 favorite hotels on earth, and why?
So I love Lauthala in Fiji, which is owned by the Red Bull owner, and it's an incredible estate with 25 villas on a private island. But they have their own Wagyu beef farm. They have, I think they have like 5 or 6 restaurants for 25 rooms. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And there again, attention to detail is incredible. But it's a very special place. Another place that I really like is Villa Treville outside Positano. It's a villa just before you enter into Positano that most people miss. It's a small sign saying Villa Treville, but it's the most exclusive place. But again, attention to detail. And then I also like places like the Brando in it's also especially the story behind it, that it was Marlon Brando's, it still is Marlon Brando's family's private island, and half of the island is the hotel, and then the family still lives on it. So those are 3 examples of hotels that I really enjoy around the world.
I mean, this is the thing, is like it becomes a passion for many people travel. Like it's one of the things they look to as how can I explore new things. And I think that we've both seen how travel has become more and more important to people as they want to discover new things. And in a world of social media and people not being able to necessarily live out as much freedom as they have, the ability to go and travel and explore is so important. But also the luxury of now having ways to do that, traveling and the amount of routes that we now have to fly. I mean, I think that what's so interesting here is, yeah, like you said, that authenticity, bringing things back, both in design, but also in the people and how much you touch the nature of those. So, I mean, what's your long-term vision? Like, where do you see this going to? And how do you see this evolving for you personally and the brand as a whole?
So I think Voaara, the idea with Voaara is basically identifying incredible destinations around the world that still have the potential of remaining beautiful and untouched destinations. You know, we are currently looking at the property in Mexico, for instance. It's close to an international airport, but far away from it to actually be always remote. There, you know, I think also the important part is to look at places where we can buy a lot of land. So, for instance, in Mexico, it's 550 hectares of land. So it doesn't matter what happens next to us. We're always going to be, very, very unique. We're looking at a property in Costa Rica that is 1,250 hectares. It's close to an international airport, but once you get to our property, you're away from everything. And I think that nature is very important. Here in Madagascar, you know, we have 50 hectares right now, but we are looking to expand, and also we are very blessed with the fact that there's one owner on both sides of us that is never selling, and he doesn't want to develop, so it will remain untouched for many, many years. But I think that we are looking at somewhere between 10 to 20 hotels in the next 10 years is the idea. And we have already identified, we have about 5 in the pipeline, but we would go to different destinations in Africa. Not always beach, it can be nature also. So we can be in the mountains, we could even be in a place in the Arctic, where you can have, it's not really barefoot luxury, but it's rustic.
Could try.
Yeah, you can try. But, it's rustic. So, we're looking at, of course, right now we're focusing on the Americas. So we're opening the next property in the Grenadines, in the Caribbean. And we bought an entire island. So that island is always going to be very protected because it's our island. Around us, there is a lot of civilizations, etc. But that island, to bring a real barefoot luxury concept to the Caribbean, has not been done before, for instance. And then we're also looking to do some branded residences where we're creating a community of like-minded individuals. That doesn't mean that everyone needs to be in the same industry. It means that they enjoy the same things, where we can share a good bottle of wine and have a nice barbecue together, and you can laugh and talk about things that makes you have things in common. And I think that for us is very important. So the villas are not necessarily for sale, but they are for sale to the right person. If we feel that it fits the community, if you will. And there are several examples of this around the world. Mustique has been a good example. When you had David Bowie from the beginning and Mick Jagger getting houses there, and they brought in their friends, etc. That didn't become long term. That didn't last, unfortunately, because then it became a playground for the ultra rich. But what we're trying to do is to do that in a mini format where we can maintain that. So you can be surrounded with people that you actually would enjoy having dinner with.
Yeah. I mean, you touch on that as branded residences as a concept. I think that we've seen a huge trend towards that concept over recent years. And I'm intrigued to know why you think that is. What's changed about people over these recent years that they feel that they're going towards that? What's driving that? People living with this hotel lifestyle, or people having them more as residences? What's your thoughts?
I think one major thing is obviously internet access. You can now work from anywhere. If you have a job where you just have, where you can rely on just working with internet. Starlink here in Madagascar, for instance, we're sitting on a remote island in the middle of Indian Ocean, and we have 200 megabits per second. That makes people feel comfortable that they can come here and work. A lot of people that are coming are quite busy. Back in the days, you would see people that would be on their computers or their phones, and people would frown and said like, "Oh, I can't believe that this guy is, working on his phone and, it's not enjoying his vacation." but it's actually because of that internet that that person can go on vacation. So I think the branded residences is the same thing, is that if you find a place you really love, and you go back again and again and again, why not make that a place where you also can earn an income from? Because if you buy a villa and you put it back in the rental pool, which we do with our branded residences, you actually earn somewhere between 10 and 15% per year, and you have a free vacation whenever you want. So I think that is something that people today are more looking at time zones rather than, it doesn't matter if I'm sitting in Cape Town or in Stockholm or in Paris, I'm pretty much the same time zone, so I can work from anywhere pretty much. The difficulty comes when you are, depending on your business, that you are leaving your time zone, etc. But for me, internet access has made the branded residence component very interested because it means that people can work from anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, do you see a particular... you said you're regionally region agnostic, I guess. I mean, you've mentioned that you're starting in the Americas, but trying to understand where you think there's big growth markets. Like, is there places that is underdeveloped in terms of hotels right now that you think is an opportunity?
I think, we're focusing a lot also in South America and Latin America overall. I think there's a huge potential over there because obviously you have North America with a massive client base, and they are looking for, further away destinations, something that is actually, we're seeing destinations there that we can actually find very, very beautiful places in places like Brazil, even in Costa Rica, places like El Salvador, which is a new country opening up, which I recently visited, which is incredible, and it's now a very safe country since what happened there recently. But also in the Caribbean, you think about it, like all of the, for Europeans, they go to Mallorca and they go to things like that. But for the Americans, they go to the Caribbean because it's just next door. So there's a massive potential to do something there that is a little bit more authentic. And then, of course, you still have Asia with a big growth, but has been a little bit saturated. And then Africa. Africa is, it's massive, and there is an incredible potential of beautiful places in Africa. And if you think about it, there are not that many great beach destinations currently in Africa, but there is a potential to open a lot more of them.
Yeah. Then going on to, we've seen hotels evolve so much more in recent years than any time before. The last couple of years have just been a huge shift, I think we agree, but also in price point and then what's included. It's trying to understand when you're looking at a queen bedroom in the Ritz in Paris for €2,500 a night, these price points seem to be going up and up and up, and where does that stop, and what should be included? Where do we draw the line with what's a sensible price to pay for a night's stay? What do you think are the fundamentals you need to include? Obviously, resorts are different to city properties, but there just seems. Do you think the all-inclusive setup works? Do you think that you need to have these experiences included, or do you think that everyone wants to pay extra for things? What's your take on it?
I think it's a completely different approach. I think that hotels are pricing it based on the client they want to have in the hotel. So for us here, for instance, we're starting at around €1,500 per night, and we include full board, breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you compare that to many other resorts in Africa or safari camps, that's cheap. But for me, it's more about €1,500 per night sort of targets a particular client that we think is someone that we want to have here. Some places cost 6,000 or 7,000. There's a hotel in Madagascar that costs over 7,000 a night for two. Are they much better than us? Probably not, but they are targeting a different audience that want to pay for that exclusivity. So there is a market for that. If you look at, there are multiple places like North Island in Seychelles, you're looking at Kisawa in Mozambique, amazing places, but they are targeting a different audience. We wanted to open it up a little bit more because we want to have people that are a little bit more conscious and aware, and where maybe they're thinking about money in a different way. And I think that same if you look at the Ritz in Paris, obviously they want their clientele. They can charge €2,500 for a queen bedded room. because there's a market. And what they're doing is that they're suddenly excluding all of the people that are not willing to pay that. But of course, why not charge for it if they can? And I think, personally, I think that breakfast should always be included, internet should always be included, you should be able to drink as much water as you want in a hotel without being charged for it. Those are things that I think should always be included. But then it depends on the destination. Here, you're coming to Madagascar, it's not like you're going to go out and find a bunch of other restaurants. So of course, food should be included.
Yeah.
But alcohol, depending, you might be someone who drinks a coconut and I want an expensive bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So that's why we charge extra for the drinks that you choose to drink.
Yeah. And I think going on to more about you, your mindset, what's kind of created your journey. But I mean, I'm fascinated to learn about your travel experiences. Obviously, that's what's created what's here. But is there still destinations on your bucket list you want to go to that you haven't done?
It's, I never had an ambition to travel to every country in the world. Like a lot of people want to say, I want to pick off every country in the world. I just wanted to go where there are great hotels. And funny enough, I haven't been to Egypt. I love the pyramids.
Really?
I've read all the books about the pharaohs and things like that. But I never made it to Egypt. So that's one that I still want to do. And it's quite funny because that's someone you would pick up, a country you would pick up quite early.
Yeah.
But I don't have that many more countries that I want to go to. I want to go to North Korea,
Yep.
but that is not because of having great hotels. That is
I don't think
because
so.
I don't think so either. But I think it's something that to see that before that ends, or we don't know how the future is going to look, but that is a country that I'm interested in because it's so strange for us, probably.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, there are not that many countries anymore that I have gone to that I need to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like, you've obviously experienced a lot of Madagascar, but and that authenticity. But I mean, how do hotels connect, and how have you enjoyed that experience of hotels connecting to the world around it, and how that relates to the community, how that relates to just feeling that thing we're saying about authenticity? Like, are there some hotels that do it well? Are there some that fail at that? What have you experienced?
Well, I think that one of the most important thing for any country that is a developing country is to focus on low impact tourism. And when I say low impact tourism, if someone is paying $1,000 per night, you have 2 tourists coming and they're spending $1,000 per night. If you're charging 20 euros a night, you need 50 times more people. And obviously the people that are spending $1,000 a night are probably going to do more for the local community. They're going to buy things, they're going to go and see things, they're going to provide tourism tax and other things. And I think that one thing that we are seeing is that a lot of people want to participate in that. So what we are doing here with Voaara is giving part of our revenues back to the local communities with programs where we can do education, where we can do combat deforestation, where we can reintroduce wildlife, where we can do a lot of things. And obviously, one of the things we're also doing is that we're hiring people from the local community, which is a lot harder because they need a lot more training, of course, but it's also very rewarding. And I see that a lot of hotels today, they have the ability to really make a change, and a lot of luxury hotels around the world are doing that, which is great to see, because about sustainability, but also being able to give back to the local community, because we are fortunate to be able to pay these rates per night. Then we can also give back and make that destination grow. Basically, we would welcome more hotels to Madagascar that would charge 1,000 or more per night, and I think that there's a massive market for it. Why is Madagascar still one of the places that doesn't have a lot of tourism? Is because there's not enough luxury hotels. Most of the people that come to Madagascar are either backpackers or people that are looking for a deal. Nothing wrong with that, but if you want to help the country from a tourism perspective, if you had more luxury hotels, that would also help the local community and the economy.
Yeah, I mean, I think people want to travel to more far-flung destinations now. I mean, what are the top 3 reasons to come to Madagascar? Why do they travel?
So everyone says it's the lemurs, It's the Singi, which are the pointy rock formations, and the baobabs. Those are the main three reasons. But I think now that there's a fourth main reason, and that is some of the best beaches in the world, which you have seen where you are.
Yes.
You know, we compete easily with Seychelles and Maldives as far as beaches go. I saw a comment on Instagram this morning where someone says it looks like North Island in the Seychelles, and that is obviously something that, you know, they have incredible beaches, but so do we, and people do not know that about Madagascar. Madagascar has traditionally been a destination with complex itineraries where it's hard to get around, etc. But now you can come to Madagascar instead of Maldives, Seychelles or Mauritius and just come to a beach destination like Voaara, but there are also others than just us, and I think more will open up.
Yeah. And then give us, as we round up, what's your top couple of travel hacks? You've traveled everywhere, you've been on planes, you've been flying to different changing hotels every night. What's the things that you've learned on that journey, like for everyone else to kind of understand a little bit? We need some key nuggets.
Well, I've been a very different traveler, obviously, because I'm in the industry. So, but one of the travel hacks I think that I do is you know, booking not always the cheapest room, but one level up, and then basically through working with the travel advisor to actually make sure that you then can get nice upgrades. Because upgrades for me and most of the clients that I've had to deal with, including you, is that the upgrade has the greatest value. Because if you get upgraded from a room that cost $800 to a room that cost $1,500, you suddenly had $700 worth of extras that didn't cost you anything. And hotels are very willing to do upgrades subject to availability, but they do it based on relationships. So if you are a traveler and you're trying to do everything yourself to find the best deals, etc., the myth of having Expedia and Hotels.com and Booking.com being cheaper is not true. A hotel will match any rate you find online, but then work with a travel advisor that has the relationship, because then you will get those upgrades, and that I think is a key thing.
That's the hack, how to get your room upgrades.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Great chatting. It's been so fun.
Thank you very much, and great to have you back here, Johnny.
Thank you.
So I think it's a little things back. You were here 3.5 years ago when we were sitting on this very terrace.
That's crazy. Yes.
Yeah, and we were talking about things and life, etc. And now you've seen it come to life.
Honestly, like, I think that's the most exciting thing, seeing vision come to life. What was this old rundown hotel with a couple of villas around is now turned into reality, all these ideas, and to see this here today, I'm so proud of what you've achieved. I can't wait to see all the other ones that you're going to build around the world, and what an exciting project to see how it develops.
Yeah. Thank you, Johnny.
Cheers, man.
Thanks.